Our government has been plagued by debt for over 100 years. It has continued to misplace or throw away trillions of taxpayer dollars, and it became so bad that they put a limit on it. Unfortunately, this limit is just as flimsy as a rule set from a kindergarten playground game, and now it is affecting all Americans. Hi, my name is Owen Muller, and today I want to talk to you about the debt ceiling, the problems it causes, and how we can fix them. The debt ceiling has been an issue since its creation, and although it had good intentions, it has had terrible consequences. It's used by politicians to be blissfully ignorant and to help their abhorrent spending practices. And now, once again today, it has become a major problem, and there's lots we can do to fix it. For the better part of a year now, I have kept a close eye on American economics, and because of this, I have amassed some knowledge about things such as the debt ceiling, and what it affects directly and indirectly. This being said, all the information presented today will be backed up by either government data or reports made by government employees. Today I'd like to talk to you about what we can and should do to prevent an America with a never-ending debt to pay, and how to show our government that we are tired of picking up their slack. So I'd like to start by explaining what exactly the debt ceiling is and what's going on around it currently. So what is the debt ceiling? The U.S. Department of Treasury defines it as the total amount of money that the United States government is authorized to borrow to meet its existing legal obligations, including Social Security, Medicaid benefits, military salaries, interest on national debt, tax refunds, and other payments. Simply put, it's the debt that the government allows itself to carry. It was created back in 1917 for World War I in order for us to borrow funds from other countries to manufacture goods such as weapons, tanks, and other machines of destruction. Currently, it sits at $31.48 trillion. And yes, that means today we are just about to be $31.48 trillion in debt. So what's happening with that now? Well, everyone on both sides of the aisles of the political spectrum can agree that they want to raise it. Republicans want to cut funding to Medicaid and food stamp distributions. Democrats want to cut military spending or put caps on other certain government-funded operations, which has been causing massive issue inside the houses. It's been making it impossible for them to come to an agreement on how exactly they should raise it. Unfortunately, it took them until 2 days before a default for them to decide on something. President Biden and Speaker McCarthy wrote a bill into the House, which eventually passed into law just hours before a default. The House of Representatives have opened the writing of the bill to the public records, and is stating in that bill that until January 1st of 2025, there will be a cap on non-defense spending, meaning their budget will remain stagnant. There will be no change in veteran care funds. $28 billion of COVID relief funds will be revoked. It will expand the work requirements necessary to qualify for food stamps. $1.4 billion will be revoked from the IRS budget. There will be no change in climate and clean energy funding. And most importantly, the debt ceiling will not be raised. Instead, they have promised that they will bring the debt down to a manageable level, with cuts proposed in this bill, along with others that they will revisit this problem by January 1st, 2025. They have suspended their decision. Simply put, they have brushed the problem under the rug until for the people in 2025 to deal with. This is not a solution to the problem. So why is this a problem? I highly doubt that anything will be fixed by 2025. So we'll be faced with the exact same position: raise the ceiling or default. If we raise the ceiling, it tells the government that they can keep spending whatever amount of money to whoever they want with little to no consequence. We will be forced to keep paying for their mistakes. A cost of living will continue to increase. Housing, Medicare benefits, and all other things will also increase in price. If we raise it and push it till later, it's only going to become worse and worse. And that is exactly what our government has just done. Our leaders do not learn from their mistakes, and if we keep bailing them out with our taxpayer money, they will continue to make these mistakes. To my left are two graphs showing where the majority of the government puts their money. The one on the left is from 2022, and the one on the right is from 2023. This year alone, even though it's only been about 6 months into it, the government has spent over $4.15 trillion already, and according to the National Treasury's fiscal data, 10% of it has gone towards education, while 12 has gone straight into the military budget. What's more disturbing about that 12% is that while 12% goes to the military, only 1% goes to the Department of Home Defense, the department in which is in charge of keeping us safe on our home soil. Our overseas protection receives 12 times the amount of funding given to our protectors of our neighborhoods. This is absurd and ridiculous. This kind of spending cannot happen, and we can change this. So what's the solution? We need to advocate for a default. A default is an admit to failure to pay off debt. The US has never defaulted, and so has made good credit and reputation with other countries. The only reason we have not defaulted is because we keep raising our ceiling, pushing back the deadlines we were given to pay off our debts, and pretending we'll make good on them. According to insider reports made by numerous politicians interviewed by The Guardian, also, the government has been using loaned money from other countries to pay off the countries we are in debt to, making a vicious cycle. We have raised the debt ceiling 78 times since its creation, and nothing has changed about their spending habits or how we approach this problem. It is time to make a new approach. A default will force the government to take responsibility for reckless spending habits, and it will force them to cut out irresponsible funding by an incredible margin and reallocate it all to paying our debts. According to the White House itself, a default would also cause the government's interest rates to go up. Not to worry though, because these rates do not affect citizens, not directly. And in the future, they might, if they fail to pay these debts to other countries in their agreed upon time, the government's debt would then jump in price and continue to jump until it is paid off in full. For those with experience in high interest debts, I'm sure you can agree that having a high interest on your debt is an incredible motivator to get it paid off in time. The government has made use of ignorant and blatantly detrimental spending. A default would force our government to finally take responsibility for how they've been spending taxpayer dollars. Hopefully, it will also prevent them from getting into such a situation again with trillions upon trillions of dollars in debt. Now, we don't get to vote on things such as this, but we do get to elect those who vote for these issues, such as the debt ceiling. We must protest for change, and for accountability, and for respect. Make your voices heard with your local elections, and always be there to vote for the candidates that have your interests in mind. As I come to a close, I want you all to remember these few things. Raising the debt ceiling will solve nothing. It will only delay the inevitable. The government does not care for our public interests and consistently puts its own agenda first. If we have to make change, we must do it soon, and we must do it ferociously, or else the problem will only continue to get worse. Finally, I want to be completely honest and say that because would be such a unique event, America defaulting, that there's no way to predict just how long the default would last, and it is possible that we would fall into recession based on how long the government takes to reallocate the necessary money to come out of the default. But I want to ask you this. Would you rather keep things the way they are now, with an ever-increasing debt ceiling, and the prices of our homes, insurance, medical care, and other government-funded services slowly increasing the cost of our living until eventually it becomes impossible for the average American to survive on an honest living? Or would you take a risk to make sure our government faces the consequences of their reckless and irresponsible actions? Make them pay their debts the same as they force us to under threat of homelessness or bankruptcy? Would you take a risk in order to ensure the price of living becomes something you can actually afford without working well into your 90s? Would you take a risk to guarantee our government realizes their mistakes and does not make them again? Would you?